You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI, Mo Kelly, we're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And it's been, I would say, a turbulent time as a Dodger fan. Over the moon that they won the World Series. Over the moon. But still, that was against the backdrop of Fernando Valenzuela dying. Now, you can say it was, I would say, a sweet response as far as the cosmic alignment where you have Fernando who left the team, the broadcast team during the playoffs, never to return. And it would be a fitting tribute given he died right before the World Series if the Dodgers were to win. It was a storybook ending. But still, you had to deal with the weight of his passing now that the parade is over, now that the celebration is over. Today was the funeral, and I want to be specific, the Catholic funeral for Fernando Valenzuela, meaning it wasn't some public event like they had for Kobe where people would come in and the stars would come in. No, this was about the family. This is about his son who offered remarks. This was about the people who actually knew him. And this is something which really bothers me. And I'm not saying this for effect. I'm saying it to be honest. This is something that really bothers me about fandom. And I say this as a true and blue Dodger fan. When I was watching some of the funeral, didn't watch all of it, but you can find it online, YouTube. A lot of outlets streamed it. And I saw random fans there with jerseys on. It made me feel real uncomfortable because all of us remember the public service that was held at Staples Center for the passing of Kobe Bryant. That was for people who didn't know Kobe personally. That was for the people who didn't really know the family personally. That's for the fans to emote and grieve over the loss of a great Laker. That was that. That wasn't the private ceremony for the family. And I know this service, I guess, was open to the public. It was a Catholic church. It's not like you're going to turn people away. But me personally, I know I can't be the only one who would feel kind of out of place and uncomfortable. Like maybe I'm treading in an area where I shouldn't be for a funeral. And there were about maybe I'm guessing 100 to 150 people there. It was an intimate setting. It was a true Catholic service, if you're familiar with it. It wasn't like you had 5 or 6 members of the Dodgers up there giving remarks. It wasn't a TV spectacle type event. It was just a legitimate funeral in the way that we think of funerals for family members. And I know sometimes you feel like you know these sports figures. I know you feel like, oh my gosh, and I think about Fernando Valenzuela. He takes me back to my childhood. Nothing but great memories. Seen him pitch, I think, on more than one occasion. But I didn't know that man. I didn't know his son. I didn't know anyone of his family. And for me, and maybe I'm just uptight, I admit that I have rules, I have standards, I have boundaries. I'm aware of myself in that regard. It just seems like the wrong place for a fan to be. It just seems like I wouldn't want to go in there because I would never want to tread on a family's grieving process where you have sons, daughters, now widowed wife, and they're dealing with the grief of loss of a husband, father, brother. And there you are in the back. You can see the video. You can see the fans in there wearing their Fernando Valenzuela jerseys, paying their last respects. I don't know if they were interacting with the family. I would feel real uncomfortable. I would feel really out of place. I would feel like, you know what? This is not meant for me. This is not about me as a fan and someone who just happens to like the Dodgers. This is about a family who is grieving. And if you've never lost someone close to you, you may not know what that process is like. You may not know the guttural feeling, the emotions that you're dealing with, the rawness of someone. If you've, like, to all of you know this, and Mark, we're all in the No Fathers Club. When you don't, regardless of your relationship to that individual, there's an absence that is sometimes very difficult to address. And I don't know if I would be able to do it in a public sense with just people who really had no connection, direct connection to me or my father.
Yeah, that's just, it's tasteless. And I understand that from what I've read, there are fans who felt that they were in mourning 2 and 1 to join in the family. But as a fan, you should know that your time to mourn and celebrate with other fans that are mourning is at a public acknowledgement of his passing. You don't show up to the private family and friend funeral services of somebody who you only know from watching play a game. You can't do that.
An actual church. It's not like a rec center or a place where you can come and like a repast where you come and tell stories. It wasn't that type of thing. The whole idea of fandom amazes me and sometimes repulses me, because one of the people, part of the reason I'm talking about this, one of the speakers at the funeral, and he was breaking down, was Fernando's son, and he was eulogizing his father. I know what that's like firsthand. That's not the time for people who really have no connection to be there. Now, I know, like with my father's funeral, he had former students, people that I didn't know personally, but they had a connection to him. It would just be, there's certain places I just don't go, and I'm a fan of a lot of people, a lot in this business. You meet people that you wouldn't normally meet. You get some sort of access to people that you normally don't get access to. But there's usually a pretty solid line that you don't cross. I forgot, this is the point I want to make. Remember when you have someone who'll pass, and there'll be a celebrity, they'll say the family requests privacy at this time. It's because of stuff just like this. The family requests privacy at this time because grieving is a private process. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And you know what? Sometimes I hate reminding myself that I'm a little bit older than I want to admit. And I'm a huge USC football fan. You know that. If you listen to me, you know that I'm a huge USC football fan, even though they still suck. I'm still a fan. The program, the team sucks. Two things can be true. I'm a fan and they suck. I was a fan back when Matt Leinart was the Heisman Trophy winner, and USC was really, really good, winning national champions, taking impermissible benefits with Reggie Bush, getting Heisman trophies stripped away, all that kind of stuff. And I remember that. Now, Matt Leinart has a kid who's playing football in college coming up next year, and I realize that's not supposed to happen. Matt Leinart has a quarterback son who's going to SMU. We'll talk about that next and how unfortunate it is. And Mark Reiner will never be able to know the joy of sports fandom because he does not care about sports at all.
I completely relate to what you just said because I'm a Star Trek fan, but I think Discovery sucks.
Well, you're wrong about that, though.
Okay, let's go to the news.
KFI AM 640.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI, Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And I was saying last segment, I love the USC Trojans. I'm broken up at how bad they are this season. It's their first season in the Big Ten. I knew that they were going to struggle because of the strength of schedule, but I just didn't know that they were going to be this bad. They just benched their quarterback, Miller Moss. They're 4-5. They have no chance at having any real meaningful bowl game appearance. It's just all bad, and they've been thoroughly mediocre for a number of years now and across different coaches. But I saw this story, and it just, it reminded me of how quickly the years go by, and also I wonder what it would be like to be the son of someone who's a famous athlete. Matt Leinart, just in case you don't remember how good he was at USC. He was a 3-time All-American from 2001 to 2005. He had a record of 37-2 across 3 seasons as a starter for USC. And 2 of those 3 seasons won national titles in 2003, 2004. Matt Leinart set 16 program records and became the Trojans' 6th Heisman Trophy winner back in 2004, 20 years ago. He played 6 years in the NFL, had an underwhelming NFL career. Not trying to cast aspersions, but just, telling it like it is. He played with the Arizona Cardinals, Houston Texans, Oakland Raiders. I remember when he was at USC, I thought he was going to be a big, big deal in the NFL. Think about that as your legacy. Think about that as you're passing it on to your son. And I talk about this within the context of obviously LeBron James and LeBron James Jr. We talk about how LeBron James was trying to open a door for his son, Bronny James. It hasn't worked out well for Bronny James if you've been paying attention. He can't get off the bench, and they're probably going to send him down to the G League, which is the NBA minor leagues. He's just not good enough, as we talked about it. And I said, going back to Bronny James, there must be all this pressure on his shoulders because dad is an NBA legend, and you carry the name, and he's opened doors for you, so it's probably even more difficult for Bronny James to make his mark. And I think about that when I read that Matt Leinart, who's not necessarily a football star on the level of LeBron James as a basketball star, but I read you his resume. Really, really big deal when it comes to college football. And his son, Cole Leinart, is going to be in college. He has one more year in high school. He's a junior in high school. He's at Redondo Union, which is one of my high school rivals. I went to South Torrance High School. Redondo Union has always been one of our big rivals. But he's going to be going to SMU. And when I saw that, I said, thank goodness that he's not going to USC, because that would have been almost unbearable when you were going to the school where your father is a legend, won a Heisman Trophy, 2 national championships. In fact, Matt Leinart's son is going in the opposite direction of what LeBron James Jr.'s son is doing, because LeBron James Jr. is playing on the team that his father's actually playing on, and you have the direct comparison of LeBron James being great and Bronny James being, I don't know, like Mark Ronner great. Not, just a little bit lacking in talent. I like using Mark Ronner as a foil because he hates sports. He knows nothing about sports.
I don't hate sports. I just did all the unpopular ones where I had to wear the required singlet.
Oh, okay. Let me just ask this. I know this is a digression. The first time you put on a singlet, what did you think?
They're rather unforgiving is what I thought.
I've never wrestled, but I have to ask this question because I've had to wear a cup for other sports. Wasn't that really uncomfortable?
Sure was.
What about those earmuff things to protect your ears?
No, you got to have those.
Why no? So you don't want to have like the cauliflower ears later on?
I got some of that anyway.
Really? Even still?
And it would have been worse without them.
Are they better now? Is the equipment better?
Excuse me?
The equipment, the earmuff equipment, what is it called? What is it called?
Oh, just headgear.
Headgear. Okay, is it better now?
I don't know. It's been years since I put it on. You can still see a little bump on one of my ears. My cauliflower ear is mostly gone, but yeah, that stuff's brutal on your entire body. And the singlet, nothing like wearing a singlet and acutely feeling yourself on top or beneath another man. Can't beat that.
Robin, I know that you were probably trying to enjoy your food, and I know that probably impacted that, but I wasn't. Okay, well, let me just ask you that. Since you broached the topic, and
yes.
I'm just going to leave the Leinart conversation altogether because this is more interesting.
No, go right ahead. Open book.
Did you ever have an issue with that?
What do you mean?
In wrestling, trying to get past it? It just seems real intimate. That's the only way I can describe it.
All right, if you really want to know.
I do.
When you're in the process of a wrestling match, you're just going all out. You don't notice any of that stuff because you're trying to beat the other guy and avoid being beaten. And it's your brain and every muscle in your body is at 110%. However, let's say the coach wants to use you as a practice dummy and you just realize there's this guy lying on top of you for a good couple minutes. Nobody's moving at all. Really, really gets a little awkward and uncomfortable.
I mean, do you look him in the eye?
There's no kissing before or afterward.
But still,
nobody gets taken out to dinner.
But I'm saying it gets real intimate and personal when you look him in the eye.
Oh, it's very awkward, and you must just go about your business and pretend nothing happened.
What was your wrestling weight?
158, 168. Fearless 58s and the Savage 68s.
Did you walk around at that weight all the time, or?
No. You had to pee and spit and poop and everything possible to get yourself down to the weight.
And it didn't dehydrate you?
Yes, of course it did.
Uh-huh. What did you weigh in? How long before your match were you weighed in?
An hour, I guess. Not very long, but you spend the whole day like wearing a plastic bag, running stairs, spitting into a cup. And here's a secret for you. Use like fruit-flavored gum, spit into a cup, so then when people come by your desk, they're like, oh, that smells good. Can I taste that?
Oh. There's something really wrong with you. Really, really wrong with you. That's not funny. I'm not laughing at that. That's nasty.
Strawberry.
Oh, gosh. No, stop, Mark.
I think you'd look terrific in a wrestling singlet.
No.
Because what were you in high school?
133. I graduated high school. I weighed 133.
I can see it on you right now. In fact, with the magic of AI, I think we could generate a picture of it.
What would be my weight class at 133?
I forget.
That's got to be at the bottom range.
No. Well, it's getting close, but those are pretty competitive because people are small,
wiry,
and fast,
strong,
and they don't have a lot of fat. Like my easier matches were at the heavier weights. Well, 158 was tough. 168, you were in for a little easier ride.
I didn't.
But Robin, could you, if you know anything about this stuff, I'd love to see a fake photo of Mo in a tight wrestling singlet.
No. What are you turned on or something? Why would you want to see that?
No, you'll know when I am.
It's okay. I know some people.
Hey. You're lucky we got to go to break. It's later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640. We have an AMC movie theater update when we come back. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI Mo Kelly, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And we often have a conversation about what's it going to take to get you in a physical movie theater? What is it that keeps you at home as a preference to movie theaters? And I've said, and I may be wrong, but I've said that this is the beginning of the end, or like near the middle, heading towards the end, for actual movie theaters. I don't think that they'll be able to keep up long term with what we all have at home. We have the big TVs. We have the great surround sound system. We have the great refrigerator and the toilet that's nearby. We can pause. We don't have to miss anything. Who wants to deal with the kids kicking the back of your seat? People talking and texting, just being rude. And this almost goes back to the airline conversation. It's like, since the pandemic, people don't know how to act in public. You know, the movie experience can be very unpleasant. And when I do go, I'm willing to pay more money for a more exclusive experience. I don't have to deal with all those distractions and detractions. AMC Theaters is going to lean in, and they're going to, as they say, go on offense and make major upgrades to their movie theaters. And they admit they're still in a box office recovery. Now, what it is going to do exactly is still kind of hazy, because the specifics haven't been divulged. But the CEO, Adam Aaron, hinted that depending on the pace of these renovations, costs likely would run into the hundreds of millions. The plan will start in the U.S., but it's expected to reach international markets eventually. This is done, according to the CEO, because their third quarter projections their third quarter revenues actually beat projections. So they did a little better than expected, and now they're going to use that to improve the movie-going experience? I can't talk in specifics. They haven't given us any specifics. But is it too little, too late? I don't know. Well, put this much, what I do know. If they're going to spend all these hundreds of millions to upgrade the theaters, that also upgrades the price. That's going to be passed along to you as the consumer. And if you thought movie prices were ridiculous now at, let's say, $18, $19 per ticket, and I'm not talking about IMAX. What is that now, Twala? Maybe $25, $30?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thereabouts.
Right. So it's going to be even more than that. I don't know if you can make a movie theater good enough to make me not stay at home. When we talk about movies, we know that the movie is not going to be in theaters longer than 2 or 3 weeks before it's available on streaming, even if you have to pay $29 or whatever it is to buy, air quotes, the movie when it first hits streaming. A lot of these movies, I'd rather wait for them to just go ahead and hit streaming.
Well, I see from reading this report, AMC is banking on the success of films like Deadpool and Wolverine after having seen a lot of the rollout for the 2025 film season. They're confident that they have some films that people are going to want to come to the theater to see on the big screen. And when you look at some of the early investments from new seats that are already being put in some of their highest grossing locations, including Burbank, the Burbank AMC,
which we go to often.
Additional leg room is being added to the sections.
This is not a plane.
A new, additional leg room. You need it. They have a new auditorium format called AMC XL, which features expanded screen sizes. All of these things to try to at least make the movie going experience for those who want to see these larger than life films in any theater you walk into. It can't be, I'm going to this, regular 2D screen. And no, you're not going to enjoy the same. Every screen has to be excellent. Every seat has to be a good seat. And that's what they're doing. This is for young people who will come out and spend big money for a weekend of going to see a movie. Deadpool, Wolverine, they're hoping that every film comes out next year is a Deadpool, Wolverine.
Which is not realistic. And also, those movies are seasonal. You still have to somehow get a movie theater business through months like November, when there's nothing really coming out, or December. You have the Christmas movies, and that's about it. And you have to wait through January, February, March before you even start seeing those movies that everyone's kind of interested in.
Now, from my understanding, with a lot of the upgrades that AMC is bringing to their theaters, like expanding their bar offerings and their liquor offerings and things like that, they're looking at having a series of adult attractions, sporting events like boxing matches, football games,
sex parties.
No.
Okay.
The seats don't recline that far back.
They don't need to. Depends on the angle.
Okay.
You're trying to get more business. I'm just trying to throw out some suggestions.
Not Pee Wee Herman, rest in peace. No.
I mean, we already didn't want to touch anything in one of those places.
Yeah.
And by the way, Tuala, you said they were somebody was doing a larger screen thing. Do these people not understand that the human field of vision doesn't really change?
And it gets a little bit more difficult to process all that 8K screenage when you're over the age of 40.
Yeah, at a certain point, none of that matters.
Well, yes, for old fogies like us, yes.
But we are the ones who have to pay the money because the kids with the disposable income, I don't know if they're going to be paying $25, $30 for just a regular ticket, because they're already paying $25, $30 for IMAX now. Presumably, this is going to be costing more than that.
Well, I don't know if it's going to cost more than that, because when you look at the numbers, they're saying that they're just trying to make the movie-going experience equal across the board for all screens. Seats equal, sound equal, everything equal, food offerings, because...
What are these, DEI movie theaters?
No.
Come on, that was funny. That was funny. Robin isn't paying attention, so it's not
totally checked out.
No.
But I mean, there's a long history of theaters trying gimmicks to get you into the theater. Like, what's that thing where somebody stands near you and spits on you and blows a hairdryer on you?
4D?
Yeah. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about 3D. They're all BS gimmicks instead of just good movies that get you into the theater and that have production values that are noticeably better than what you get on television. That's what you need.
Right. But AMC, if looking at this report, not just this one that's coming out, there was one that came out a couple of weeks ago that talked about how AMC is looking at theaters like Alamo Drafthouse and how successful they are as an independent theater chain with their offerings. Their bar is fully stocked. They have more than just movies there. They'll have football screenings, boxing matches, and not, run of the mill, but they have some really, really high profile things where a bunch of people say, hey, instead of me paying all this money to rent, say, this Tyson YouTuber fight, let's all go to an AMC, get some drinks, watch the fight on the big expanded screen. That's what they're banking on, doing more things like that.
But there is a company called Cosm, which is already trying to go into that market where you have these super stadium size, almost like a half sphere.
Yeah.
Where you can watch these events and it's immersive. So you feel like you're in the actual event, be it a movie, be it a sporting event. That's where all this is going, because it has to be offering something more than what we have at home.
Yeah.
And
so
the only way
can sit and watch Avatar in a bathtub.
I wouldn't watch Avatar anywhere under any circumstances.
Well, you're an Avatar truther.
No, I did see it. I thought it was boring, and I don't believe that people saw that movie 3 and 4 times to somehow justify the $2 billion that it made.
I'd watch Jaws in a swimming pool. I've heard people doing that.
With like floaties and everything, sitting on a raft.
Yes, floaties. The technical term is floaties.
Are you mocking me?
Never. I would never do that. I respect you far too much to do that.
Yeah, that's sarcasm. Tuala, you mentioned the YouTuber. I assume you're talking about Jake Paul.
Is that his name?
Yes, and Mike Tyson. They're going to be fighting on November 15th. They dropped a trailer today in promotion of the fight. It's not very good, and I wonder if anyone is actually going to see it. You don't have to pay for it. I think it's part of your Netflix subscription.
Really?
Yeah, I hope so, because I'm not paying for it. It's on the 15th. We'll talk about it next.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. Big time boxing fan. As far as sports go, I grew up a fan of boxing. I love fight night. I love the big fights, starting with Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes. And I grew to be a Sugar Ray Leonard fan back when they had, and I know Mark remembers this, closed circuit TV.
Oh, yeah.
This is before pay-per-view. It was just a few venues where you could see a closed circuit TV event.
That seems prehistoric now, doesn't it?
Oh, it pretty much is prehistoric. But it was the forerunner of modern day pay-per-views. And now with streaming has its own special live events. I told you how I could foresee how Netflix was getting into the sporting business and live event business, and they're going deeper and deeper into that. Coming up on November 15th, you have this latest boxing exhibition circus event between Iron Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Mike Tyson is 58 years old. Jake Paul, I think, is 26. Mike Tyson, when he was 36 years old, was not routinely getting knocked out, but he really had no business being in the ring. That was 22 years ago. Mike Tyson is in great shape right now. Do not get me wrong. But he's going to be in the ring with someone who's 32 years his junior. It's almost like watching Rocky III where they said we're going to have to put him away early. The only way Mike Tyson, and I know people think like, Mo, you must be tripping. The only way Mike Tyson wins this fight is if he puts away Jake Paul in 1 or 2 rounds.
You think?
Yeah, because outside of that, he's going to run out of gas. I know the punch is the last thing to go, but age is age. Age is age. And listening to this trailer, which dropped today for this fight, thank goodness I don't have to pay for it. At least I don't think I do. I think it's just part of my subscription. It does not make me want to see it. It's almost like it's laughing at itself, the ridiculous presentation and promotion. You have to see it to just believe it, but this is what it sounds like.
Everyone has a plan.
This is ludicrous.
Until they get punched in the mouth. Yo, listen, you hear that? Killers in the jungle. Run for the life.
There's never been a night this big. This is no ordinary fight. This is Jake El Gallo Paul.
This may be it! Who's doing more than me? I'm the face of this sport.
The Disruptor versus Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet.
30 years ago,
nobody could get close to me. I'm the best fighter in the world.
This is the fight the world's been waiting for.
That's not true.
What happens next? Only one way to know.
Listen.
Paul versus Tyson, Friday, November 15th, live on Netflix.
so I'll watch it. I mean, I'll be in D.C., but I'll watch it.
I know Ludacris got paid for that. I understand. But he should have revised that script. You don't call this fight the biggest ever. Do you know how many huge fights there have been in the history of boxing?
It's not
put this one.
It's not even the biggest fight for Mike Tyson this century.
Yeah.
This decade. I mean, when he fought Roy Jones Jr., that was bigger than this.
That was actually a boxer and a boxer.
Yeah.
You're not about to suggest to people that boxing promotion is filled with hyperbole.
No, I get that. They're trying to sell the fight.
Holy Don King.
I'm just saying.
But Don King was much better, and he actually had legitimate fighters to work with most of the time.
And he stomped a man to death.
He did. And I met him once. That man exudes evil. And I've never said that about anyone.
Really?
Yes.
Damn.
Don King is a scary man.
Is it just the heat miser hairdo?
No, he's a big man. I want to say he's like 6'5", 6'6".
Oh, I had no idea.
No, he's a very, very big man. And it's one of those things where like, yeah, he shot a dude. Yeah, I get it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely believe it. Where it's almost like he's polite to a point.
Until it's time for you to die.
And then you realize like, oh, this is how he ripped off a lot of people because he was a mobster. I think he's like 94 or something
93.
like that.
He's 93.
Yeah. Oh, that was the only person I met in all of my time in entertainment where it's like, even Suge Knight, I didn't get the same feeling. Don King, yeah, I know he has some bodies on his record. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
No doubt. But I'm going to watch the fight.
Me too.
It's later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
See a doctor if your election lasts more than 4 hours.
KFI
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live.